bring in former State Department official Christian Whiton. Christian, it's great to have you on.
Great to be here, Elizabeth.
Hey, Christian, can you take that question on about the Democrat pushback now against Republicans trying to investigate abuses by the Obama administration in the Trump-Russia probe and the Flynn probe? They're pushing back hard against that.
Well, I can understand that. After all, this is really an effort to protect the deep state. That is ultimately what Obamagate was about. That's why they went after Mike Flynn, the general. They hated his policy. They hated that he wanted to focus on China as the key threat. They hated the reforms that he did when he was, or at least that he attempted when he was head of the Defense Intelligence Agency. He saw these fake national intelligence estimates saying that Iran wasn't a big threat, that the Iran nuclear deal was a good idea, that ISIS wasn't quite the calamity created, frankly, by the Obama-Biden administration. He stood against all of that, and that's what made him a key target. That's why they really went after him. Obama himself said to President Trump, "Don't hire General Flynn." That wasn't him giving good advice. That was him protecting the deep state, and now we see Democrats on the Hill basically doing the same thing.
And former President Obama is now saying, criticizing the Justice Department dropping the case against Michael Flynn, the motion to drop. Does that indicate to you it's personal for President Obama?
I think so. It was Obama himself who fired Flynn. Again, not for good reasons, but because he wanted to stop the reforms that Flynn wanted to implement. And remember, Flynn was general. He was in charge of intelligence in Afghanistan. So he really had a very solid track record that he was bringing to the DIA and that Obama wanted to, frankly, put an end to. He did. He got him out. And really, just part of the effort to set up General Flynn, Obama, we were finding out more and more every day, laying these traps, working with Sally Yates at the Justice Department. And, Flynn probably looked down. He saw the FBI in his schedule. He says, they're going to come brief me about some national security issue. As in fact, what happened, we know now, is they went in to entrap him. They went in to try and trap him in a lie, which they probably didn't even get. Of course, that didn't stop them from prosecuting him.
Yeah, the word is also that President Obama was angry when General Flynn testified to Congress that ISIS is not the JV team. To your point, he was a former director of the Defense Intelligence Agency. That's the Pentagon spy service. And the theory is, according to Sidney Powell, Michael Flynn's lawyer, that Flynn knew how and where to find the evidence of the FBI's illegal spying operation against the Trump campaign. Let's listen to Sidney Powell here. I'd like your reaction on what she says. Let's listen.
So he was going to audit the intel agencies if he came into the White House, and that was one of the things they were terrified of. Plus, they knew as NSA he would immediately discover their FISA abuses and the incredible widespread general surveillance abuses of the administration. I don't know whether it's from Mr. Brennan's fusion center that he set up to focus on whoever he wanted to focus on, or whether it's something called the Hammer or what it is, but there was a massive surveillance operation, very widespread, by the Obama administration to surveil all political opponents and anybody else they wanted to collect information on, using the NSA database as their own little research operation.
So what Sidney Powell is effectively saying is that Michael Flynn wanted to audit the intelligence community's, capabilities and what they were doing. Christian, does this indicate to you then that, wiretapping the Russian ambassador phone, the FBI did that? It was really, is it an indication to you that they were going after Flynn, and it was more than just Russian interference, which everyone agrees is wrong? But there was something else at play here. Was there an inside story here, a backstory about why Obama and his team really wanted to block Michael Flynn at all costs?
I think so. Now, personally, I think it's great that we're tapping the Russian ambassador's phone. If we are, we ought to be monitoring them. But when you have a routine conversation between an incoming national security advisor, and, both parties used to be in favor of actually having at least an open channel of communications to the Russians, why you would spy on that, why you would unmask him, why you would later leak that information out to the press, which was a felony, that's all very bad stuff. And I think you're right. Flynn knew where all of the bodies were buried. He had experience across across much of the intelligence agency, first very much in the Army and the military, and then more broadly in the intelligence bureaucracy as head of the DIA, and coming in as national security advisor, having the ear of Donald Trump, who was probably very irritated that that intelligence community was weaponized and politicized. You know, that's what the left is accusing Trump of, but that's what they did. They politicized this. They were the ones who saying ISIS isn't a threat. It's the JV team, that the Iran nuclear deal was succeeding when it wasn't. And Flynn would have been in a very strong position to advise the president on reforming that. And that would have sort of undermined everything we saw with Obamagate, which is trying to protect the deep state in order to undermine Donald Trump once he took office.
So just to wrap this up, by the way, Lee Smith is the author of the book, The Plot Against the President. She's been writing about this too. So Obama saw Flynn, even before Flynn joining as Trump's NSA, Obama saw Flynn as a threat to his Iran nuclear deal in 2015. Is that your take, that he was a signal threat to his legacy, the Iran nuclear deal?
Exactly. Flynn knew exactly how intelligence had been politicized and phonied up. He tried to correct that. Obama fired him. That made him available to go onto the Trump campaign, along with people like General Kellogg, who lended some legitimacy and heft to the foreign policy part of that campaign. So Obama had a personal vendetta, and that's why he was target number one. The ultimate target, Donald Trump, but sort of the target of opportunity was General Flynn.
Christian Whiton, you're terrific. We love your perspectives and insight. Will you come back on?
We'll be happy to. Thanks so much.
Great. Christian Whiton there.